Hey guys, I wanted to make a quick video kind of just going over macros. I've gotten so many questions, people that have never counted before, kind of some tips and tricks, things that I've done. I started counting macros March of last year, so almost a full year. I will say it gets so much easier. Like at the very beginning, it was very overwhelming. I felt like it was just like kind of like homework. Like I had to like plan out every single day and know exactly what I was going to hit. What made this feel like that is because I didn't understand portion control, true serving sizes, actual like weights of foods. So that was like one huge switch for me. Now that I've done it for so long, I kind of have the vision of really a true serving. So I can kind of guesstimate and then like test myself to see how close I am, and I'm usually pretty close just because I've done it so many times. The foods that I eat, I've eaten so many times that I kind of know. So it does get easier, but I still weigh things out. So there's a difference of like a scoop of protein that's leveled and then a scoop of protein that's topped off. There's a difference in that. There's a difference in your calorie intake because of the difference of protein and carbs and fats. So in counting macros, for one, you need a food scale. Like 100% need a food scale, no way around it. The food scale you can do in ounces and grams. That just kind of depends on your nutrition label, whatever the serving size says. Most of the times it's in grams, sometimes it's in ounces. You just want to switch your food scale to that. You want to, whatever you are weighing your food on, whether it's a paper towel or a plate or a bowl or whatever you're going to use, make sure to put that on the scale first, zero it out, then enter your foods. There is a difference of weighing something cooked and uncooked. So make sure you're paying attention to your nutrition label. Most of the time it says so many ounces or grams cooked, so many ounces or grams uncooked. Pastas, meats, all these things. Whatever you, especially when it comes to meat, I measure mine cooked. I know people that measure uncooked. You really just want to stay consistent with it. Definitely, like I said, to pay attention to that nutrition label. Pastas are the biggest one counted wrong. You actually do not count them cooked, you count them uncooked. So I will either weigh out my pasta. What's kind of frustrating is if I'm going to make a big batch of spaghetti for my husband and I, he eats 2 servings to my 1. So I like to just make everything bulk. So to sit there and have like 4 pans of his weighed out measurements, my weighed out measurements, what I've started doing that was easier for me, little tip, is I made the whole box of pasta and cooked the whole thing. After I was done cooking all of it, I took a big bowl, zeroed it out on my scale, weighed the whole thing. So I know that there's 7 servings in the box of pasta. So obviously the serving size is going to weigh differently because it's cooked versus the nutrition label said it was uncooked. So I just took the grams that the whole box weighed and divided by 7. So that right there is going to give you the grams of what the cooked pasta is. Now I saved that in my phone, so now I know that from now on and I can just weigh it out in single times, but it just made it so much easier for me because I just cook it all, weigh it out, then I just separate it, measure it, put it in different containers, and I'm done. So there's kind of some tips and tricks you can kind of go along that to make that easier. Now, counting macros is planning. You cannot, I promise you, further on, like where I'm at, I can kind of get away with a little more. But in the beginning, you cannot just go through the day, put in what you eat. Oh, I just had a bar, or I just got this smoothie, whatever you're doing, and then throw it in there, because at the end of the day, I promise you, you are going to end up with the most screwed up macros. You're going to have 1 fat, 60 carbs, and 86 proteins. Like you can't fill all those. So that's something you want to make sure to plan. I planned the night before when I first started. The night before planned out exactly. I had the same breakfast when I first started for 12 weeks straight. I went 12 weeks, no sugar, no untracked meals, or as people would call cheat meals. When you're counting macros, you just don't like to call them cheat meals because you're not living a restricted diet. You want a balanced diet. So you don't want to think cheating as a mindset. This is something I'm still learning. I deal with emotional eating. when I get bored or emotional, I just want to eat. So this is something I'm trying to trigger in my own brain as a bad thing, and that is restricting and saying bad words. Foods aren't bad and good. They're just better for your body. They're more healthy or unhealthy. So, therefore, I don't say I'm cheat meals. I go with untracked meals. So I went 12 weeks without an untracked meal when I first started. This actually was not hard for me because of a couple different reasons. So I lost 65 pounds. I don't want to say keto because I was not keto. I was not measuring I wasn't going at ketosis and I was not doing that. I was more doing just a low carb diet. I was eating probably less than 50 grams of carbs a day. Macro counters, you're probably gonna be like, holy crap. But it was just all I knew at that point, and that's just what the media pushed down my throat. I mean, that's just, everyone said carbs were bad and you'll lose if you don't eat them. And it was true, I did lose. But I also lost so much muscle in my body. Muscle that I had worked for through high school, through sports, through everything. It just ate it away. So when I got with my coach in March of last year, that was a huge switch for me. So when she gave me macros and I was eating, 200 grams of carbs a day, I was like, first off, heaven, like this is awesome. And then second off, I was so full at the end of the day. I had no cravings. I didn't really want anything different than what I was eating. Like this was complete heaven to me from what I did for 2 years. And what I did for 2 years was miserable, you guys. It was emotionally draining. I didn't hang out with friends or go do things because it was just such a mind game with losing weight. And it's like a happy thing, but at the same time, it put me in a really dark emotional state because I was restricting myself from so many things. And don't get me wrong, there was a couple of weeks or even a month out of the year that I would just start binging and eating and eating and eating. Now, the nice thing I will say is I might have done that for a week or two, and then my body literally felt so bad and it craved all the health again that I got out of it. And I maintained my weight. I lost 40 my first year, 20 the next year. So I cut my weight off. I can't complain about it, but it was not fun. It was just miserable. So once I started macros, I didn't know if it was going to be for me. Honestly, I thought that my coach was freaking crazy and there was no way I was going to eat all that food and lose body fat. Like there was just no way. Come to find out, I'm extremely fat sensitive. So I was probably eating low carb and my fats were in the hundreds, if not higher, because most things low carb fat content is so high. So I was like dropping, but building muscle. And it was all happening like pretty quick just because I cut my fats down. So I was eating 200 carbs, which gave me so much more energy. My workouts were way better. I could lift way more weight. I felt better. I had way more energy just because of having those carbohydrates. And then I cut my fats down, and I want to say I cut my fats down to like 55 at first. So kind of a flip-flop there. And it just really, really helped me. That is not for everybody. Everybody's macros are different. Everybody's bodies are different. So that is just my personal story of going into macros. Measuring, and it's time consuming, but I guess my response to that is, how important is it to you? How important is it to change your health and to change your body? Because that was what fueled me. I knew I was in the worst place after high school. I was surrounded by people that weren't positive for me. I dated people that weren't positive for me. They were constantly putting me down. I had so many weight issues. I was made fun of for my weight and told I was overweight. You can imagine, and some of you are where I was at that time, and you're in your whole friend group and you're the largest girl in the group. It's just one of those things that it's very emotional and can put anybody in a really dark place. So I knew I had to get out of that. And Jerry, which is my husband, we laugh all the time about this because he started dating me when I was 200 pounds on the dot. I was probably like weight-wise, I was probably about 100 in like 170 range when we first started dating. And then he and I, like our first 6 months, ate like trash. Like, oh my gosh, pizza every day, chicken tenders every day. If you've ever had Slim Chickens in Arkansas, like that was our thing. And I just knew, like, I just felt like crap. And so I just started. And I don't know. I literally, for me, it was the end of the year, 2016. It was December 2016. No, December 2015. I don't remember. 2016. It was forever ago. I think it was 2016. And then I went 2017. January is when I started. So I just got on the scale. Literally, it was 199.9. People that weigh that now, I am not saying that at all to, I'm not saying that in a bad way, because it's not a bad way. For me and my body style, I knew it was my point of breaking, and that was my low for me. And I tell all my close friends, that want to diet and you change their bodies, I'm like, you just have to hit your low. Like, your lowest of low is what is going to give you all the power in the world that you want to do for your body. And there's so many times, you guys, that I would lose 20 pounds, gain 20 pounds, lose 30 pounds, gain 40 pounds, like so many crash diets, it's unreal. So I look back and I'm like, how did I do this? Because I will go on a mini cut now and literally I'm like, what? Like, how did I do this mentally? Because it sucks, and it does suck. But I think I just had so much drive and just knew I wanted to make a change for myself. There's other incentives I had within myself, and I told myself I wasn't going to do any of that until I lost weight. So those things kind of helped me. But y'all, the first month to 2 months were absolutely miserable. I literally just went to bed at 7 p.m. every night, because if I was hungry and wanted to crave food, which at night is the most common time that I do, I just went to bed, because that was the time for me that I was just like, I cannot keep doing this. So that is when I hit my low and just really, really kicked it into gear. I have many goals. And I'm not saying many goals as in M-A-N-Y. I'm saying many goals as is M-I-N-I. So short-term goals is my point. Don't sit there and say, this year I want to lose 30 pounds. Break it into short goals. That is what mentally helped me. So when I first started, I was going on a birthday trip in March. That right there was my first goal, is to look good in an outfit. Like 3 months, maybe lose 20 pounds in 3 months would have been awesome. I honestly don't I want to say I did lose 20 those first 3 months. I want to say I did hit 20 right for that trip. And then I set a new goal. My birthday was in July. I want to do something fun in July. Now, I will be honest and say, girl, you lose 20 pounds. There is nothing that lights a fire under your butt as noticing change in yourself. So yes, other people might make some comments. When you notice it is huge. And that was like a motivator for me. I was like, oh, like I feel good. I feel like I look better. I went. And so the rest of the year, honestly, mentally was easier, just because it was in a way addicting. It was addicting to keep that fire and keep doing everything that I was doing. Now, when people would make comments about how they've noticed change or anything like that, that was also so motivating for me. Because then other people start noticing what you're doing. So that's why I always like tell people, I'm like, if you notice a change in someone, tell them, because you don't know if they are struggling inside to keep going. So that little comment right there is just a huge motivator. So yeah, I just kind of kept going. Kind of getting off the story with macros, I'm kind of honestly giving a weight loss story background of myself. A lot of you weren't here when I started in the very beginning, so it kind of works out just going hand in hand. But, so kept that going all through that year. Then that next year, my goal is really, obviously I wanted to lose another 20 pounds, but main thing was maintain. And I did do that throughout the next year. I did Katie Hearn challenges, numerous ones. I mean, I did a lot of them. I didn't do when I first started because I really, honestly, I didn't even work out the first couple of months because I really just wanted to get a grasp on the food. Now looking back, I didn't work out because I had no energy to work out. I had no energy. So, I started doing workouts in the summer, I believe. And then I started Katie Hearn's fall challenge. I did the winter challenge, the spring challenge, the summer. Like, I just kept going with her challenges. And that's when I was staying really active in the gym. I was killing myself with cardio, which you don't have to do. And I was. Just a lot of things mentally that weren't right when I was going through all of that. But we're done with it. We're here. And you just keep learning. So those are all kind of changes from that aspect. Back to macros. So counting macros for me, like I said, was so much better because I was getting so much more food. You, as I said, want to weigh everything. You want to record everything. Some people like to do pen and paper recording. I used MyFitnessPal. It was the easiest for me. I'll put a couple screenshots on here of like my recorded food so you can see, but it's super easy to use. I'll even go through and show you how I like search for a meal, enter it in, and I'll put that in the video. But it's just easy for me because you can enter anything. There's a barcode scanner. I can scan any of the foods. And if you go out to eat, especially at big chains, 9 times out of 10 it's in there. So I can sit there, I can record everything. Honestly, if I go eat somewhere local and it's not in there, it drives me nuts because I'm like, no, like I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get this to the closest that I can. So that's something that I really like that keeps me going. Planning ahead, we kind of went over. Definitely plan ahead. That is probably the biggest thing because you want to make sure that you're going to fill your macros. I fill mine in within 10 plus or minus proteins and carbs, 5 on fats. So I make sure that I'm filled. Now I'll log my meals and just kind of keep snacks open and fill my snacks as I go because my cravings for snacks change. So some days I want this, some days I don't. Meal prep. I will say I meal prep meat in bulk for like 3 days and then I'll do it again for the next 3 days. So when I first started, I did a week of the same foods. So I just kind of prepped them and then did a whole week just because tracking was so time consuming. It was just easier for me. And then the next week I switched over and did the same foods. Now I also did that too because I liked what I was eating. Like I did my chicken and rice, which I have in my blog on shaylinray.com. That is like one of my most popular meals my husband begs for daily. We both love it. So we ate that every day for forever. And it was honestly fine for us because we liked it. My breakfast stayed the same for 12 weeks. And then the dinners, we did lunch for the chicken and rice. And then dinners, we kind of switched up. It just depended. We either did like spaghetti and I mixed pasta and spaghetti squash, or we would do tacos, or breakfast for dinner. We do all the time just because we really, really, really like breakfast. So that was something easier too. I love Kodiak cakes. That was a good meal to me. Those were things I all liked. So it really wasn't hard for me to get off track. So when people ask what's your meal plan or what's your diet, I don't have a meal plan and I don't want to give anyone a meal plan because that's restricting. And that's what I used to do. And I'm like, give me a meal plan. Tell me exactly what to eat. No, because you're restricting and that's something that you might do for a month or 2 months. And then you're like over it because you're like, I don't want to see chicken and rice in my bowl ever again. Well, duh, because you ate that for like 8 weeks and you didn't do anything different because that's what your diet suggested. So there's so many more healthy foods out there. And that was my goal for 2020 is to venture out because I kind of got in the groove of the same things just because I knew it was easy. I knew how to make it. I knew how to measure it. And so my goal for 2020 is new foods, new recipes, incorporate new things into my diet. But I'm still keeping balance. So if I want a freaking cookie, I'm going to eat a freaking cookie, but my goal is to eat one cookie. Does that happen all the time? No. Do I self-sabotage about it? Sometimes I do, and then I quickly have to reset myself of, you can't do that. New slate, let's go. And everyone says this, and I think that's just what stuck to me, but one day of eating bad isn't going to gain 1,000 pounds, just like going to the gym and doing one workout isn't going to make you skinny. So that's something that really has helped me. because there's times that Christmas break, I'll tell y'all. So Christmas break, we went out of town and traveled to some good friends of ours in Baltimore and had the best time and ate the best foods every single day. I didn't track. I started tracking, and then after I was like, there's just no point. The desserts we had were amazing. I was sick every single day because I ate the crappiest foods, but I had the best week of just a mental break. That at the going through it, the memories were worth more to me. So when I got home, I'm not going to tell you that I didn't self-sabotage, because I 100% did. But now I look back and I'm like, I don't regret it. Like, I had the best week. I didn't stress about making sure I had the right foods or that I was doing the right thing. I didn't. And so I will say, when I weighed, when I got back, which I wasn't going to do it, but then I needed more motivation, so I was like, fine. I had gained, since my normal weight, I gained per scale. It said I had gained, I'm trying to mathematically do this in my head, 14 pounds. So this, if anything, is going to show you why you don't trust the scale, because the scale is also measuring many different things. It can be water and salt and all these other added things to your body. It's not fat. Like, just because the scale says 14 pounds doesn't mean you gain 14 pounds of fat. Like, if y'all knew 14 pounds of fat would be like a huge amount of fat, it's physically impossible in 1 week. So to prove this, I ate clean. I weighed when I got back. I got back Thursday. So Friday morning I weighed. I ate back on my normal clean diet Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. By Sunday, I had already lost 8 pounds. So right there, that proves to you that 6 pounds, actually, sorry, 6. So that proves to you right there that most of that was just water, salt, everything just from traveling, all that good stuff. So now, yes, I'm still up about 5 pounds, but I haven't even been home for a full week, back into my routine for a week. So that still is going to dramatically change, and a couple of pounds are still going to come off. Now, did I probably put on 2 or 3 pounds in about a week and a half with Christmas and everything? Yeah, I probably did. But I have a new goal, and my new goal is this summer for my trip that I'm going to take. So I don't know. It's just one of those things that once you start, you'll realize what's really important to you and what's not. And you guys, I can sit here and preach to you all day, but I have gone through so many struggles recently about emotional eating and binging, because there's times that I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I love pizza and cookies and all the peanut butter in the world. And I'll go through that mindset for a day, but as soon as I consume all of that in a day, I feel so miserable and so sick that then I quickly crave my body just feeling good. My body feels so good. When I was eating crappy over Christmas break for 10 days, I wanted to nap every single day because my body felt so gross and I was exhausted. And as soon as I've been back on eating clean, I have so much energy throughout the day. I don't feel like I need to eat because my body is just going on its natural energy. So this kind of changed from a macros to my life story. I'm sorry if you don't like it, but I feel like a lot of people have asked me a lot of these questions. So I think it was just kind of time. I think God laid this in my lap just to kind of fall in with everything else. And hopefully this story kind of helps somebody else. One thing I will say is, when you're measuring with your nutrition label, make sure that you are make sure that MyFitnessPal is reflecting the correct information from your nutrition label. This can happen sometimes because people sometimes enter in things, and because they weren't scanning right and they enter it in wrong. It happens a lot with your dietary fiber and your carbs. People take the dietary fibers and put net carbs in. You want to calculate full carbs, not net carbs. So that is something that I've noticed recently, especially that has been a big change. Trying to think anything else really. I basically with macros just try to keep everything 80% whole. So getting in, 2+ servings of vegetables. I try to get in at least 1 fruit a day. Fruit do have a lot of sugars, so I don't go crazy into fruit just because I don't want my sugars to spike. One thing I will say with macros too is I make sure to partner my snacks, partnering protein and fat or protein and carbs. This will help you stay full longer. If you're eating just a carb high snack, so say you just grab a banana, it can cause your insulin to switch and then you end up more hungry than what you really were. So that's something that I've tried to kind of change. I've noticed doing this, not really food sensitivities, if you will, but things that just don't settle with me. I'm super sensitive to the broccoli, cauliflower, just that whole group. I go from no bloat to bloat in like 5 minutes. Sugar, alcohols, there's certain ones that I'm more sensitive to than others. You'll kind of just start seeing these things. So doesn't mean you can't have them or you shouldn't ever have them ever again. It's just that I know if I'm going to be home on the couch in sweats all night, then I'm going to have some cauliflower rice and broccoli and all that good stuff. But if I have a night out planned or a certain outfit I want to wear and go do something, then I'm not going to do that. So it's just knowing when and when not to do it. It doesn't mean that you can't have it. It doesn't mean I'm allergic or anything like that. I'm not. I'm just sensitive to it. Pretty much, other than that, I think has kind of answered a lot of general questions. If you guys have more questions, feel free to comment them below. I can totally do another one of these videos, usually videos concerning macros and things like this everyone likes. So any more questions or anything like that, just go ahead and plug it in here. I will just say, anyone starting out this year, good luck and stick to it. Just stick to it, because I promise you, you will never look back and regret doing it. Never. But you will look back and regret not doing it. And if you have a trip this summer or spring break plans, anything like that, use that as your motivator, because you don't want to be on that trip looking back saying, dang, if I just started in January, I could be at my goal or close to my goal. And that's kind of what helped me. So I promise you won't regret starting. You won't regret doing it. So just do it. Find an accountability partner. Days that you want something sweet, I will say, I have dark chocolate, Lily's dark chocolate chips. They're sweetened with stevia. Those are in my fridge and I eat them all the time. So whenever I have a craving, I just run to the fridge, get a tiny little bit of handful. Yes, I record it, but I get a little bit of handful and I just eat chip by chip, and it just helps kind of my sweet tooth. That's my thing. This morning I was craving pancakes, so I used wheat bread, dipped it in some egg whites, sprinkled some cinnamon, made French toast, sugar-free syrup, and that was my breakfast. And those helped my cravings. So if you're craving cookies or things like that, find a healthier version of a cookie that you can eat and then try it out and see if it helps the craving. Those are all things that can kind of help. And I really hope this video helped you guys. If you guys want more videos like this, want to know more information about anything, kind of got a background story about me, then just let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much. Have a good day.